sit down, I can't get up. You know what? Drink my coffee from a favorite cup. Sit down at Tim Hortons. I'll be sucking it up. I gotta make that scene. But after one cup, I gotta pee. You see my hair's all gone, and my beard is turning gray. Mercy, all the women got the head on. Turn the head the other way. You know I might give you a real nice long. But I'm looking a little more like James Bond. Give me back. Mercy. Make it alive. You don't too. Long.
Hi everybody, it's Friday night. Welcome to the Patio.
TV, a news program guaranteed to contain no news whatsoever.
Canadian Combat Coalition, because their leader has got balls this fucking big, and he don't mind telling you how it is. Duke Willis, only one I respect.
Well, you put me down.
2017 ended with me getting mobbed by Antifa in Niagara Falls. My buddies and I were abandoned by George Halleck and the Storm Alliance because I posted a pic about beating the hell out of Antifa. George didn't like that. I wound up getting hot chocolate and bottles of water dumped on me, and my buddy rode his Harley right through the crowd of Antifa. We had fun. Thanks, George.
The only one that I got any respect for from Patriot Group is Duke Willis, because he'll fucking tell you how it is. He's just telling you how it is. With the exception of CCC and Duke Willis. You got a leader there that don't give a fuck. He'll tell you how it is, and I like him.
Turn Labor Day weekend into Labor Day week. Shut the country down for an entire week. Just stay home.
But for you Patriot Groups, Duke Willis, you're the only one with any balls, buddy. Thumbs up, you're the only one with any fucking balls out there.
On the Patio, live, Friday nights at 9, Facebook and YouTube. Join the show via Skype or Facebook Messenger. Just look for Duke Willis. Wear your tinfoil hat. Things tend to get a little crazy on the patio. If this video
can inspire, but it is the
doesn't kind of tighten the muscles in your throat, if this video doesn't make your lower lip quiver just a little bit, if it doesn't make your breath catch in your chest just a little bit, then you're a sad, cold-hearted motherfucker and I don't want to know you.
Add one more name from Ontario and carry me home.
Check.
Down the highway of heroes, people above with the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes, true patriot love, there was never more. Serve with distinction, no my vocation. I was called by my nation without hesitation. My answer I gave. Now I'm not wondering the things that I might have been. No consolation in the forgotten rain. So carry me home down the highway of heroes. People above with the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love.
Let's try that. Okay, but we weren't getting sound before on YouTube. Now, are we getting it over here? Okay, so that's got sound there. Now, we'll try this. There we go. Now we're getting sound on YouTube. I don't know why we weren't getting music before, but YouTube wasn't getting any sound at all. YouTube has been playing games with my videos. I have filed copyright permissions from Steve Burnside and from Trickbag. That's YouTube on big time lag behind what I'm saying. I have filed copyright permission from Steve Burnside and the Marquee and from Trickbag for the music in my videos. But YouTube keeps flagging my videos as a copyright infringement. And they're tagging them. So what I've started doing tonight was the first night. What I've started doing is, well, you folks here on Facebook are hearing and listening to music play. On YouTube, they're just watching. Yeah, it's busy trying to load. Yeah, YouTube is acting up on me tonight. On YouTube, what I've done is I just play a picture with no sound. There's no audio. There's just a picture. So they get a visual, but no audio. And unfortunately, something screwed up, and when I flipped over to go to the Facebook feed, it didn't want to pick it up, and it's still not. I don't know if it's going to load or not. It's trying. YouTube is being a bitch tonight. I'll tell you that much. Okay. So how's everybody doing? Let me open up the Facebook chat room over here. How's everybody doing over here? Dan Dubois, I'll give you a shout on Facebook Messenger in a few minutes, buddy. Hi, Bill, Peter, Andrew, Gary Gilbert, I saw you pop in there. Peter Weeb. Kelly, Scott Bell, how are you doing, brother? Wow, my computer won't scroll far enough back. Pat Callahan, welcome to the show, brother. So we're going to bring Dan Dubois in here in a few minutes. I know he wants to talk about all kinds of things. Holy jeez. According to what I see, the Facebook screen is frozen. And there's Dan calling me, so let's take that call. Are you there, Dan? And I can't see him. All right, hang on just a second here. Let's see if we can... There he is. Say something, Dan.
Say something, Dan.
Okay, I can hear you. Now we're going to bring you into the show. We got audio and video working here.
Okay.
Give me just a second and I'll bring you into the show here. There we go. And some quick screen adjustments here. There we go. And that should have... Say hello, Dan.
Good evening, Patriots.
There he is. We got audio. I'm pretty sure audio's going out everywhere.
So
I
you
just
can hear
want to
me?
type a quick message into the YouTube chat room because I'm not sure if this has refreshed or not. I hope it has. My computer, it's frozen, but my computer is also streaming it out, so it could be frozen on what it's sending out. My OBS is sending out a live feed that's accurate. Whether YouTube is picking it up and sending it out, I'm not sure. I'm not reading current messages in here. My screen is frozen. Well, somebody, Rip in YouTube just said evening Dan. So obviously they're getting a live feed on YouTube even though I'm not seeing it. So it looks like we're good to go, brother.
Okay, so maybe get some confirmations on Facebook as well. Let's see that.
Well, I'm sure the Facebook feed is
I don't
working.
see nothing. I've last time we did this, I could see you as well. Right now, it's saying connecting video. It's not saying video connected, so I'm not sure that we're actually connected. And I only
Well,
see
Ed Jamnisek is telling me we're 5x5 on YouTube, and Bren Moyle says everything looks good here, both Duke and Dan. So we're good to go, brother.
Awesome. So I'm just going to introduce myself for those of you out there that might not know who I am. My name is Dan Dubois, and I'm the National President for Canadian Combat Coalition, and we're also known as C3.
C3 is kind of like the short form for Canadian Combat Coalition, eh?
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who want to believe the kind of bullshit that goes on around social media and mainstream media, yeah, Dan and I and a whole bunch of other people just like us, we're the racist white supremacists that they keep telling you about. Say hello to Dan, the racist white supremacist.
Yeah. No, I hate, you know what? I'm not racist. I just hate everybody the same.
Equally. Yeah, I'm not racist. I have no preferential treatment to anyone. I hate everyone equally.
That's right. Yeah. People laugh when I say, you know, I never met a dog I didn't like, but I met a lot of people I don't like.
I have met a couple of dogs that I don't like. Honest, there's been a couple that I won't turn my back on them. You know what I mean?
What it is
but I've met a whole lot more people that I don't like versus dogs I don't like.
Well, when you meet a dog that you don't like, that's because that dog does not like you.
Well, yeah.
You know? And that's when they don't like you.
But hey, there's no accounting for taste.
That's
I mean,
why
like,
you don't
you know,
like them back.
Next to, you know, with the exception of you, I'm perfect, right? Like,
thanks for that.
No. Hey, I'd do the same thing for a white man.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody knows my true colors. You're invited. I guess the first thing we should talk about, since we're just winging it here, is our rally.
Dude, we're winging it all the time. This is the patio, okay?
Yeah.
We're sitting in your backyard or my backyard. We're having a beer, and we're just shooting the shit. And if we offend somebody, we'll get the fuck out of my backyard.
Well, this is it. Yeah, exactly.
You want to talk politically correct and try not to offend people? Come see me tomorrow or Sunday. Tonight, This is on the patio. This is my backyard. I don't give a fuck in my backyard.
You know what? You're a good host. That's being a very good host.
Well, Dan, you know me, dude. I am who I am. If I'm a good host, well, then thank you. I'm just a good host.
You know, I got to tell everybody, I had the pleasure of meeting Duke on a couple occasions, and we got to spend the weekend together in Ottawa. On our rally last year, and we got to camp out together where it was very informal. And you know what? Really good people. I met awesome people there, really down-to-earth people, people that care. And Duke is one of those people. You know, rough around the edges, straight shooter, shoots from the hip. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, he's on your side. And he's very knowledgeable in very many areas. And you know what? You're a true asset to C3, and we're really happy to have you as our captain down in your area as well.
Well, thank you for all those kind words. Now, the bullshit's getting deep, and this is my patio. I'm going to have to hose it off when you're done, so let's lay off, okay?
Let's time to crack another beer.
Just so you know, I am still with C3 over a year later because it's one of the few organizations that has maintained its course.
Yeah.
Okay? You have done what you've said and said what you've done. I respect that in a person and in a group. You haven't led the group in one particular direction. You've allowed the group to assume its own varied directions depending on where that segment of C3 might happen to be. And you've also delegated a lot of responsibility out, especially to young Ryan McLean, which is something you and I talked about.
Ryan is a definite asset to the group. Unreal.
Big time.
He's techie. He's very techie savvy. He's knowledgeable, and he's on the right team. He's on the right side of the fence. He really knows what's going on out there, probably more than even me. He keeps himself really informed. Tenacious young man, intelligent young man, hardworking young man, and a great dad and a great family man. And I have to tell Ryan, take it easy, Ryan. Back off for a few days and take care of your family. He's
go be a dad for a while, dude.
He's
the
got
days
so
are
much
coming soon enough when we Patriots are going to have to commit 24/7.
It might happen that we'll get even busier. This is true.
Well, I hate to say this, but Tom Quiggin told us I was just watching the video tonight because it's what I'm putting out for my March video, is 52 minutes of Tom Quiggin at the C3RF conference, September 20th, 2017 in Toronto. That whole hour-long video, a half hour of him doing his speech and then a half hour of question and answer. And I just watched him explain in 2017, quote, what you see happening in England, in Germany, in Belgium, in France. Yeah. What you see happening there is coming here in the next 2 to 3 years. Well, that was 2017. It's now 2019. You want to know what's going to trigger the violence that set off the Yellow Vest movement? Because in 2017, Tom Quiggin wasn't referring to the Yellow Vests. He was talking about neighborhoods being taken over and turned into no-go zones where white non-Muslims are being murdered just for walking down the wrong side of the street. You walk down the east side of the street, you're okay. You walk down the sidewalk on the west side of the street, and you're going to get killed for being in a no-go zone. That's coming to Canada. 2 years ago, Canada's own specialist, our own most informed human being on the subject, said we had 2, maybe 3 years. Well, that was 2 years ago. And this coming federal election, they're going to do everything they can to influence the vote to shut up people like you and me. Yeah.
Well, that's what this mass immigration thing is. That's why they gave the sovereignty, signed it over to the United Nations, because that's what they want. Canada's a strong country. Canada's a prosperous country, modern country, a country that's advancing, and they want to slow us down. So what do? They invite the third world here.
Well, no, it goes deeper than that, Dan.
Our immigration isn't diverse at all.
You have to understand that it goes deeper than that. We are one of the G20, one of the top 20 advanced nations in the world that has no legal, legitimate government. We are an unprotected pearl laying in an open oyster shell, ready for anyone to come and pluck and use as they please, because we, the people of Canada, have no legal recourse or ability or way to stop anyone.
Well, it's implemented. This government is implemented. They have a police force, they have an army, and they pay these people.
It doesn't
So
make them
these
legal. It
people-
doesn't make them ours.
No, it doesn't. But what they have that we don't have is they've got people on the payroll that will do their bidding.
Well, guess
We don't
what?
have-
There's more of us than there is of them, and they
Yeah.
can only kill so many of us before someone like Donald Trump or the governor of Texas or the governor of Montana steps up and says, just a fucking minute here. You're not killing your own citizens right next door to the US of A.
Well, what I call the big awakening hasn't happened yet.
It's
When
not
you can
going,
only
you're
get-
not going to, that's just
Yeah.
it. We have this, our country has the same population as New York State, okay?
Yeah.
To
That's
look
right.
at a big awakening here in Canada, you're talking maybe 10% of the population, 3 million people, the population of Toronto
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
awake. Okay? That's as much awake as you're going to get until shit really hits the fan. Until your average fat suit and tie wearing, golf club carrying, out of breath after the third hole on a Saturday morning, fat ass Canadian realizes that the store down the street is going to close down because the Muslims won't let them sell anything but halal, or their whole neighborhood is being turned into a Muslim-only neighborhood, and they either pack up and get the fuck out, or they die. That's when they'll start to wake up. Or when our government says, you know what? We can shut off the gas stations all over the province whenever we want to. Let's shut off hydro and water and natural gas to heat their homes and let the people freeze to death. That's coming.
We could be turned into victims overnight. That's without a shadow of a doubt. But I'll tell
Well,
you
yeah.
something.
It-
Our
you know as well
problem-
as I do, that's going to happen whether we stand up and resist or not.
Yeah, well, our problem, in my opinion, is much greater than just the Islamization of Canada.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's definitely an aspect. It's definitely an issue.
It's one of the
definitely,
bristles in the paintbrush.
Something of concern. But you know what? I'm more worried about our financial devastation. That could come first. You know, that would help gain access. Third world country
Okay,
immigrants
here's what's going to
can
happen
live with a lot
financially.
less than me and you. They would be almost in their own element there. And you know what? It'd be easy for a takeover, like you're saying.
Okay, well,
You know, it's
first of all,
it-
financially, you need to break it down into current and future. What
Well,
will happen in
tell
the
you,
current
currently our
time?
problem is that we have no more gold in Canada. That's a big problem, you know. If
Well, we
there's
have
a
all
big
kinds-
financial reset where, you know, you gotta have in the bank what you're allowed to spend. That's why the United States and Russia and China are hoarding gold right now, because of this big financial reset that everybody's talking about and worried about.
It's
To make it
that's-
in layman's terms,
Dan.
you may not be able to write a check that your ass can't cash. And the only thing that will have value will be minerals, gold, silver, those type of things, you know?
Actually,
So Canada not having any gold, that puts us in a lot of financial peril.
no, you don't understand. There is not going to be a gold market, not until after there is nothing more than a handful of seed for corn, and thank you for a handful of seed for carrots. That's going to be our economy, Dan.
Yeah, but if you're watching...
No. There is no yeah,
reset-
but. That
No,
there
there is
won't
a yeah,
be an
but.
international economy. What part of the central banking system is going to collapse leads you to think that there will be something left of it?
Well, the thing is that the central bank is comprised of dollars. That's why it's going to collapse, Duke. Okay? It's
No,
dollars.
I know that.
Fictitious paper.
Yes.
You know what's not going to collapse, my friend, is gold and silver.
Right.
Because it's tangible.
Right.
Because,
But
put
guess
it this
what?
way, I know, I talk to investors. That's why they're telling you, and they're pushing things on Facebook to invest in gold and silver, like that silver gold bullion company. Because that may be the only thing that your grocery store or that the guy at the gas station may
Here's the
actually
difference,
give
Dan.
you something in return for.
As a former Ontario Securities Commission's licensed advisor, investing in a mining company is not having gold in the dresser drawer of your bedroom. That's two
No,
very
you should
different
be
things.
buying gold.
Investing in gold and buying the actual nuggets and holding that little 1 ounce cube of gold, those are two very different things. One, you can do by picking up your phone and calling Edward Jones and saying, liquidate my 2 Mackenzie stocks and go buy Barrett Gold. And you hang up the phone and now you own gold. But guess what? When the currency that you used to buy that gold falls apart, you don't have any gold to take home and put in your dresser drawer so you can slice a little bit off and go down to the street corner store and buy a loaf of bread. Because he's not accepting paper money, he only wants gold. But you didn't actually buy gold, you invested in it. Two very different things.
Have a little bit of gold at home or silver. And not only that, it's going to quadruple or even more in value. Your ounce of gold that you paid $1,200 for, if there's a financial reset like they're saying, might be worth $5,000.
Yeah, but
So
you're
you'll
speculating. You're speculating on the value of. You can't see my camera, but for those of you that are watching my cam, you're speculating on the value of. I'm holding up 2 business cards from Synthesis. You're speculating on the value of today's dollar and an imaginary dollar tomorrow. Well, what if that imaginary dollar says you need 100 of today's dollars to buy 1 of tomorrow's dollars? Or maybe you need 500 of today's dollars to buy 1 of tomorrow's dollars. Because that's how artificially inflated our current fake fiat currency is. We don't know what that equation, that calculation process is going to be.
They just print more.
What's that?
You know, that's the problem. It's paper money. So as soon as there's a shortage, they just print more. It's fictitious.
Yeah, but that's
it
just
has
it,
no
Dan.
value.
Dan, that's what I'm pointing out to you. In a reset,
that's the point.
There is no more central bank to keep printing today's money. So you wake up tomorrow morning and the bank that printed that $20 Canadian bill in your pocket doesn't exist anymore. You can't get any more of those green $20 bills. As of tomorrow, you have to use blue and gold colored printed bonds from the Bank of Canada. And they're backed by gold. And you need 500 of today's $20 bills to buy $1 worth of gold bonds. That's the only place you can spend today's money is there. At the bank.
Unless you've got your own little stash of gold, right?
Well, yes, if you take your earring and your jewelry and go to Alaska and see Tony Beats and buy gold off of Tony Beats.
People, what I'm hearing, I've got an advisor too, and he told me this. He says, you got money in the bank, what's your money in the bank worth? Let's say you got $100,000 in the bank. Next year, that $100,000 is worth $95,000 because money depreciates.
Yep.
Now, had you bought $100,000 worth of silver, and you had that even in your house or at your camp or buried somewhere.
Yep, buried at your cottage.
That will always be worth $100,000 or more.
Or more.
as value increases.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people are buying, literally buying little stashes of gold and silver and keeping it at home, or keeping it in safety
you know that
deposit
after
box, or
World War-
keeping it in the state? Yeah.
After World War I and after World War II, the two most sought after metals were copper and aluminum.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Huge, huge profits were made in copper and aluminum after both world wars. Think about all the hydroelectric lines that had to be replaced, all the connections on them, right?
Yeah.
Telephone lines, all that stuff had to be replaced.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Like you want to
Listen.
turn something into
cool.
instant cash, go get yourself old copper wiring, throw it in a fire, burn the plastic off, melt the wire down, just sit on the ingots of copper.
That's why some of these old buildings that are vacant are so guarded and heavily protected, because
Yeah.
they still have a lot of value just in copper and pipes and whatever.
A buddy of
If
mine,
you were
that's
to
what
go
he
in
did
there
for
and
a
strip
living
them,
was he went
there's
in and
thousands and thousands of
they
them.
tore down the hospital in Sudbury. A big section of the hospital in Sudbury back in the 90s was getting rebuilt, early 90s was getting rebuilt or getting torn down. He went in and ripped a whole bunch of demolition in there. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
They pulled all the wiring out. He said there was just miles and miles and miles of phone line.
Yeah.
And all his company did was take it back and they put it in metal dumpsters and set it on fire and burned all the plastic coating off and then pulled all the wire out. The copper would melt and the other stuff wouldn't melt because it didn't get hot enough, I guess. But the copper would melt and it was easy to pull other metals out of it that way. And they burned all the insulation and wrapping off it and then recycled it.
Yeah, it's too bad lead that didn't have value, because that's easy to pull away. Listen, while we're here talking, we should talk about our rally.
Yes.
I want everybody to know that it's Duke, this fine gentleman with the beard that you're all watching, that's going to be hosting this rally for us. So Duke is going to be the host. And Duke, who did you get us this great speaker that's confirmed that's coming to the rally?
Well, I have confirmed with Doug Force that he will be at the rally with us. And I want to say I'm in communications with, but it's so far only one-sided. I've reached out to Tom Quiggin, told him that there's no rush to get back to me, given him the date, July 20th. Am I right on that? Have we got, by the way, have we got the permit and everything?
Yes, we have the permit.
Okay,
we're
good. So
confirmed
I can
from-
feel confident in announcing the date. We have the permit.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
and we have the permit, and it's from noon till 7.
Okay, hang on. You
So
broke,
we've
you
got
broke up during
from noon till 7 to do it.
noon till 7.
Okay, I said we have the permit. We don't have to start at noon, but we have the grounds from noon till 7. I would like to start around 2 or 3 and go till 7. I'd like to go till after supper, so that people that may be working in Ottawa on Saturday might join us after supper. Once they're done work. A lot of people
I
work
like
on
the
Saturday.
idea. I like the idea of later in the afternoon for 2 reasons. It gives people from Toronto the ability to leave Toronto at a decent time in the morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, get to Ottawa by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and still have 3 to 5 hours at the rally until 7 o'clock.
Exactly.
And enjoy lots of speakers, because with that much time, we don't have to rush through. Now, as I say, I've confirmed Doug Force. I've reached out to Tom Quiggin. Now that I know the date is confirmed, I'm going to send an email to Christine Douglas Williams. She's a journalist with Jihadi Watch. She's the woman that Trudeau fired from the M103 committee. Remember when when M103 went to the government and one of the Liberal appointees on the committee stood up and said, "You can't even be discussing this. This whole thing goes against so many Canadian laws." And Trudeau had her removed from the committee looking into investigating M103. I've reached out to her. Well, I haven't yet, but I'm going to. Now that the date is confirmed, I'm going to reach out to Christine. She lives in Burlington, so I'm going to see if she can come.
I'll tell you, I got more good news.
What's that?
Believe it or not, I've been speaking to this woman. Her name is Loretta, and I'm not sure if it's Eng or
Inge. Yes, I've spoken to Loretta a number of times. She's a wonderful lady.
Well, she is reaching out to all the First Nations, and she's going to try to get us 2 or 3 First Nations, and not chiefs. She says the chiefs, a lot of them have been compromised.
Yes.
She's going to get us 2 or 3 really good First Nations activists to speak that day.
Yeah.
And she's bringing, she says, at least 3 to 10 native tribes are hoping to join.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we got lots of time to bring speakers in. That's not a problem. And if they're watching or if they're watching or they happen to see this, you can reach me at dukewillis@gmail.com. DUKEWILLIS@gmail.com. Just reach out to me and I will put your names down as speakers. I'm working on building.
I told her to try to restrict it to between 2 or 3 First Nations people, because we want 5 hours. If we've got yourself, myself, we've got Doug, we've got Barry Prince that's coming down from BC.
That's something else I wanted to ask you about. Barry is coming from out west. I'd like to know who else is coming from C3, and we can deal with this as we get closer. And like maybe when Nay comes from Alberta, if somebody comes from the East Coast, I would really like to see C3 show their national face across this. I don't know how much of a stage we're going to be able to put together. That's something Ed Jamnisek and I are going to start working on. I kind of like the idea of an old flat snowmobile trailer, because we can load the PA, some chairs, everything onto it. 3 or 4 guys pull it.
They might not let us bring that on the lawn.
Well, they let us roll the stage up there last year twice, if you remember, and that's all we're doing with this.
You know what else we got this year is we've actually applied to allow my truck up there.
Well, then we can take the trailer up.
I imagine we'd be able to tow the trailer to the fence maybe, and then have to push it in by hand.
They won't
allow the truck
like
in the
Dan,
grass.
think of a flatbed snowmobile trailer up on jack stands so that the wheels are off the ground and we can compensate for the little bit of slope that's on the ground there coming up by the stairs. Using jack stands, we can set it fairly level. There's lots of room on it. We can have 3 or 4 people standing up there on it, right? And everything can go on top of it. 3 or 4 guys with a couple of straps. You pull it up the hill. You walk it back down. We're not carrying anything.
You just have to walk it across the grass right to the truck. Will be allowed right to the entrance of
if they're going to let your truck up there, they'll let you come right up beside the Senate building, which is where we walked up, right?
Right.
You'll be able to drive right up there. So we'll just take the trailer across the grass and we're jamming. Oh, dude.
Or we set up the stage very close to the truck, just on the inside of that fence, where we can just carry things right from the truck right to the grass and set up right there.
Yeah, we don't need to put the stage way over by the stairs.
No.
We can put it anywhere we want.
Close to the truck. That way we could keep water and all that stuff too. I'm going to bring
Oh,
a bunch
hey,
of
you know
water.
what I would love to do? I would love to rent a flatbed 5-ton, and that's your truck. And roll it in, drive in, and just use the flatbed truck as a stage. Right there in the
I don't
driveway.
know if I'd let you leave the vehicle there. Might not be able to leave the vehicle there. I'd have to check on the. You wouldn't believe the rules and regulations. Like I should post the. Actually, Dunn Ryan has the actual permit, and you know that we're even restricted as to the size of the signs that we make. Yeah, they've got
won't like mine.
dimensions there.
This is my new sign. I've decided I don't want to. Which camera am I using? I got to have a look here. Wait till I flip over to OBS.
Yeah, no kidding. They've got dimensions.
This one I'm
that
using that one. So I'm getting tired of carrying a sign around in one hand on a post, right, on a stick, and trying to dig DVDs out of my pocket and hand them to people while the wind's blowing the sign all over the place. So I got thinking, I need sandwich board signs. Just a sign on the front and a sign on the back with straps over my shoulder. So this is my new, I'm going to put holes here and use ratchet straps. I've got old ratchet straps where halfway through the middle of it, it's all frayed. So I'll take the ends and I'll put a hole across here to strap over my shoulder to a sign on the back. But this is my new sign. Close our borders, enforce our laws. What part of illegal do you not understand? That's my Amanda helped me make that one. That's my new one half of my new sandwich boards.
I want to also mention that the Yellow Vest people and the Yellow Vest movement are coming and are welcome and invited to show up at this event.
Well, I hope so.
Wear your yellow vests. Like, this is all about unity. So all the groups, all the patriots,
my hands right here. I wear it every weekend when I go out to protest.
Awesome. I wish I could see. This is boring. I'm just getting a look at myself here. I want to.
We got to get you a real computer. Enough of this telephone stuff.
And I was asked by some Yellow Vest members to mention on this video that they are aware and to make others aware that the Yellow Vest movement has been infiltrated by a lot of leftists and liberals.
Yep, that's to be expected.
Yeah, if you see some people that are kind of contradicting the narrative and you wonder why, and they're slowly exposing these people, and some of these people are slowly being ejected out of the movement and off the pages. But don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you hear, because there are people that are trying to destroy this movement and that are trying to destroy the Yellow Vest movement. So there's a lot of contradictions out there. There's a lot of what seems to be infighting. But these people are put into the movement and have joined the Yellow Vest only to cause dissension and disinformation. So people, you got to be aware of this, you know?
All you have to do, people, you know, when my dad coached hockey, when he was a hockey coach, he told his kids, the players, the same thing over and over and over again. Keep two hands on the stick. Keep your stick on the ice and just keep skating.
Yeah.
I keep telling people, keep your head down, ignore the distractions, and just keep marching down the Patriot pathway, because it's a long fucking road and we're nowhere near the end of our march.
And this I know is going to open up a gamut of questions and PMs because everybody now, because they're all ready, well, who's good and who's bad? We don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. And
know,
even if I tell you Rudy's a fucking idiot and you shouldn't listen to him, half of you are going to go fucking listen to him anyhow.
well, Rudy gets his audience, I believe, because it's a train wreck, and everybody likes to see a train wreck.
Well, yeah. Plus,
He's very bold. He's very rude. He's very abrupt. He's very vulgar. Some people identify that as being honest and true and like a Joe Lunchpail, like he's a regular guy. No, he's just a very vulgar person that doesn't have all the information and is using sensationalism to kind of get an audience.
Actually,
I don't hate the guy, don't get me wrong, but that's what it is.
Rudy started out as somebody who realized, hey, there's people out there making money off of this bullshit, and they're no smarter than me, so what the fuck? I'll scam the internet. And that's how he started out. Pay me. I'll have to go back to work if you don't donate. Then along came people like Kevin J. McKenzie and whoever that guy is that was playing the intermediary when Gary Gilbert was trying to debate Rudy. Along come these guys, and all of a sudden, Rudy's videos start taking on a professional appearance. He's putting out promo videos ahead of his shows. All of a sudden, he's got all kinds of people with a whole lot more smarts than him helping him out. Now, I'm not saying that Rudy came on the scene as a plant, but people with an IQ in 2 digits instead of single digits like Rudy's have taken control of him, which isn't hard to do. Let's face it, when it comes to silly putty, he's pretty much liquid. You can shape it any way you want, and it's not hard to do. Just pour it in the container, and it takes the shape that you give it. That's Rudy. So people like this Kevin J. McKenzie, he keeps posting Rudy's videos to my timeline. He's on my friends list. So are 2,500 other people who I have no fucking idea who they are. This Kevin J. McKenzie guy is one of the kind of people who would manipulate and feed and twist Rudy's appeal in order to mislead people. And I continue to state, Dan, I think it's great. I think Rudy's the best thing that's happened in a long time. Every movement needs a shit magnet, and Rudy attracts the shitheads, like himself, very well. They all need I Love Rudy t-shirts so we can identify them.
Yeah, it's I had one person actually tell me that she has good information because her husband, and this person lives out west, by the way, and I'm not going to reveal her name, she asked me not to, but she says that her husband works in the oil industry, and she knows for a fact that people in that oil industry stand to gain more funding from the government and stuff than to get their oil flowing again. They've found a way that make it more lucrative for them to make the oil not flow.
Yeah.
And
we'll pay you more money to stay out of business than you'll make in business.
Yeah, because, the big picture, eh? So these people have been compromised and bought, and they are actually spending all kinds of money and have spent all kinds of money to even destroy that convoy. She says that convoy had plants in it left and right. People stole money from the convoy, people that had GoFundMe accounts. people that look on the up and up are still withholding large sum. We're talking $40,000 in one instance. That a person, and I don't want to name him because I don't want to get myself in trouble either in case it's not true, but some people haven't been paid because people are withholding money.
Yeah.
And not only that, there's other things that happened on that convoy that, I mean, all in all, it was a great thing. But small things like, I guess there was a high consumption of alcohol when they were stopped at hotel rooms. And maybe the Patriots bought that alcohol. That money, that alcohol seems to have come out of the funding that was supposed to be for food, lodging, and fuel. So some people misappropriated some of those funds. Some of the funds were stolen. So there was some wrongdoings in that convoy. And so that's why some people have a bad taste in their mouths that were involved in it, because they know that even in the damn convoy, there were people in there to sabotage it.
With ulterior motives.
Isn't that sad? That such a noble, and I gotta say that's what it was, such a noble endeavor to unite Canadians from coast to coast, and good people getting in their trucks and spending money out of pocket and their time away from work, time away from families, traveling across, for some of them, unknown territory, not knowing what to expect, worried about Antifa attacks and what have you. Yeah. Got on that bus and got in their trucks and came. And I'll tell you another thing they tell me is that their warmest reception, their biggest reception, their most visual reception was here in Ontario. They said that as they drove through Ontario, they said often there were tears shed on the bus and in the trucks and amongst the Patriots in the convoy, because they couldn't believe how many people stood at the end of their driveways and stood at the entrance of town and the exit of the townships, waving them through, wearing yellow vests, holding signs, holding signs with hearts, and just loving them for what they were doing. To me, it's a clear representation that the citizens of Canada aren't happy with what's going on in our government and what's going on in our economy and what's going on in our immigration. And the list goes on. And who are the culprits? It's this Liberal party that, I mean, they didn't start this agenda, but they've sure helped expedite it. And they've sure helped fuel it, the destruction of Canada. So when you see these patriots standing up, welcoming a convoy through their towns and then through their townships, with big hearts, and not only that, they got food, they got money. People were donating, he says, hundreds and hundreds of dollars all the way through. And they were all giving their money to one guy, this Jack guy that I was talking to, a young fella, and his dad, Ian. He's telling me that he saw patriots handing over $500 and $600 at a time that they had picked up just from the crowd as they were traveling through towns. Wow. So they picked up all kinds of money, and a lot of that money now is, they don't know where it is, and there was never a real tally. There was no problem with our government too. There was no transparency as to where the funds went, how many came in, and where they were spent. So that's a sad state of affairs that happened in that convoy.
Yeah, and you've got to take all of it with a grain of salt, because you don't know how accurate the information is, and
sure,
you can't really point an exact finger.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing and accusations like that always come up always. Like, I remember I was part of, and some people out there watching this may recognize the name the Ride for Sight. It's a national motorcycle ride to raise funds, raise donations for retinitis pigmentosa. And it was started by a couple of guys here in southern Ontario way back in the early 80s. Retinitis pigmentosa is tunnel vision, when your vision closes in. And at one point, the Ride for Sight got so large that the motorcycle manufacturers decided that they would put together a national committee, and that committee would take over running the Ride for Sight. And it moved from being a riders organized event to being a national fundraising campaign. And it took on a whole different atmosphere. And at the time, there was all kinds of talk about how money being raised was going to pay the salaries of CEOs and secretaries and office space and all that sort of thing. And, so, yeah, there's always going to be, is this where we want it to go? Is it being steered right?
Well, in all fairness, too, it takes a long time to get all the funds dispersed and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
These two guys told me that if anything, and I says, well, did you guys get your money? They said, yeah. They said shy of a couple $100, which we had no problem throwing in because we knew it would cost us a few dollars. They said, yeah, we pretty well got paid back. So I said, so is there anybody out there that claims to have not been paid back? I think it's not so much a problem that nobody got paid back, but I think they actually might have collected more than what they needed. I don't know. I'm speculating.
Yeah.
But there's funds out there that, it's like there's still monies out there. Will they use them maybe to promote another thing? Who knows? But I'll tell you, what happens is when you have an event of that magnitude, there's going to be glitches.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
Be financial
especially
glitches.
When it's not an organized event. Like as much as they wanted to try and organize it, they've never done one before. So how much can you organize? You can only speculate at what you're going to need and what you're going to run into and encounter. Dan, let's change the subject for a minute here. Kelly Elizabeth has a question in the Facebook chat room. She says, Dan and Duke, it's about the RIC, referendum initiated by the citizens. If a politician agrees to assist in implementation of the RIC, would you support that politician? I'll answer this first because it may just cut the whole debate real short. We here in Canada, unlike any other country in the world, we here in Canada don't have any legislation that allows for a referendum by the people. In France, they have the foundation, the building blocks of a legitimate government. Their legitimate government has gone corrupt. In the U.S., they have the foundation of a legitimate, legal, de jure government. Here in Canada, we have never had, in the last 80 some odd years, we have never had a legitimate de jure government. The power of RIC can't be enforced here because none of it ever exists. Now, what RIC can do, and hopefully will do, is exactly what the convoy should have focused their efforts on awakening and unifying the people. What you were talking about, the way people in Ontario came out and the way people all the way across the prairies in Saskatchewan and Manitoba came out the ends of their driveways and all their side streets and county roads to stand out along the Trans-Can. That's what the convoy was all about. It wasn't what they achieved in Ottawa, because they didn't achieve nothing. You know as well as I do, no politician gives a damn about protests on Parliament Hill.
If you talk to the people in the convoy, they disagree with that. They'll tell you that the convoy was about Alberta and getting Albertans back to work and the pipeline. That's what they initially planned and they got angry. I had people from out west call me angry and saying, what's with this Rick and what's with all this other stuff? This convoy is about the pipeline and about Alberta, and about what happened is that everybody with an agenda and a narrative jumped on board. And they kind of didn't like that, but that's what happened, and it is what it is, and there's not much we could do about it. Everybody that had, a say that they don't like about this government climbed on board of this convoy and attached their narrative to the convoy. But I was told quite clearly, I had a couple guys actually call me mad at people that were speaking, and they're talking about other things like immigration and what have you, and they got really angry that no, that's not what this convoy was initially about. And before I forget to answer that lady's question, I know what she's talking about. Bernier made kind of made comments alluding to the fact that he may try to implement the RIC if he were to be elected. And with that said, I've got to say something else.
Wait. There's three. Hang on, Dan. There's three key words in what you just said: if, might, and when.
Yeah, I know. That's life, though, Duke. Life is full of ifs, mights, and whens, and maybes, and shoulda, and coulda, and wouldas. It goes on and on. But with that said, I was going to say we should bring on Ed Jamnisik, because Ed asked me earlier before I got on. He says he spoke to Bernier, and he's got something to say about Bernier and what Bernier had to say about the RIC. And I think that opens up another conversation, and it's a conversation we should have. So is it possible to get... I guess you are.
I'm trying. I don't know.
Yeah, because Ed was, how Ed's such a nice guy. Was, do you mind? I don't want to get on. Ed's busy, it says. Didn't want to interrupt our video, but he did say, I'd like to come on because I got something to say about what I think. Ed's one of those guys. Ed's one of those guys that phones you while you're taking a pee, and then when you're done taking a pee, and 10 seconds later you call him back, he doesn't answer the phone for 45 minutes. Yeah. It's like, dude, I know you're standing right by your phone because you just called me while I had my pecker in my hand taking a pee. It's all about timing.
Answer the damn call, and he doesn't.
It's all about timing. There's definitely, I was going to, another thing I wanted to touch on is I believe that the electoral process is an issue as well in this country. I don't like the way we elect our prime minister. I believe that, like in the U.S., we should have a vote just for the prime minister. You know what I mean? There he is. I don't like that we have to vote for our
Ed,
local
are you
MP.
the one that's making my phone buzz?
No, I don't think so. I'm not getting any calls or notifications or.
No,
It's been pretty quiet. I think
Hi,
people
Ed.
know I'm on video, so.
Duke, I can't see you. I'm assuming you're in that black space there.
You
Hi, Dan.
won't see me because both my cams are being used by OBS to go out over the shows. So, just like the last time you were on, Ed, you couldn't see me then either.
Lucky me. Yay.
And I shipped you your toque today there, Ed.
Thanks. What do I owe you?
Nothing.
Oh, come
It's
on.
it's a gift. Listen, buddy, a guy that goes out and spends all that money on a PA system and then lends it to us deserves a friggin' toque. And hopefully we can get that GoFundMe going, because I would actually like to reimburse you for that PA system, and then we could call it C3's PA system. You can hang on to it and everything.
No, you can't do that because I bring it down here and I use it on our sidewalk protests.
That's fine. That's what I'm saying, is that, you know, the group would own it, and then you guys, you know, share it down there. You guys, we don't need it up here. I got a really wicked blowhorn. But for you guys down there, and for when we do events like Ottawa and what have you, you know, you guys can hang on to it. But I'd like to reimburse Ed for it, you know. So
It's no big deal.
I'm asking Patriots out there to start donating to that GoFundMe there. I'm going to try a Rudy thing there. He doesn't even have to work, that guy. I guess his GoFundMe does so well.
Anyways, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about the RIC and implementing the RIC.
Yeah.
Now, I did not speak to Bernier, although I have spoken with him a few times. I did not speak to him specifically about implementing the RIC.
Okay.
There's a video going around, and Gary Gilbert, he recorded that Bernier had returned a call to Gary, and he may consider implementing the RIC. He's going to look at it. He hasn't committed to it yet. So right now what's going around, there's a petition, and if we can get enough interest, if we can get 25,000 signatures by Monday morning of people that would like to see the RIC implemented in Canada, then he's got a hard time saying no, because we did this in 3 or 4 days. So it's the will of the people. And the other thing is, Bernier, if he is true to himself and he is an honest guy and he says he's all about respect, freedom, fairness, and he's going to say he's probably going to adopt it, but I can't speak for him. He's looking at it. We just got to show up with our votes and make little videos saying why I want the RIC implemented in Canada. Maybe he'll grab it. Maybe he won't. We don't know. We'll find out. But until he sees interest, he's a politician.
Yeah.
Why would you stand behind something that could bury him or it could bring him to the top? It may get him elected. If he adopts it, it probably will. But he wants to make sure enough people are willing to put their money where their mouth is. That's politics.
Well, fair enough, though. I mean, actually, that's justified, wanting that. Why would you consider implementing something that nobody's backing? You know, I find the time frame short, 3 days. You know, should have been like a week. But you should be able to get 25,000. The problem is not getting the votes. I think the problem is getting the actual petition out there in front of 25,000 people.
Well, it's an electronic petition. It's on change.org. There's links all over the place. If anyone sees my icon, press on my icon. You'll see it on my page. There's also a little video there of what Gary did to explain to people, because we don't want people signing on to something if they don't know what it's about.
Right.
We're not trying to mislead anyone. And the whole idea about the RIC, and this is counter to the way politics have been done in Canada for the last 100+ years. We, the people, can, if we can implement the RIC, we, the people, can make major changes or improvements, or we can shoot down idiotic policies. If we had the RIC in power today, we could initiate, say we cap the limit to 1% of the population. Get 300 signatures on a petition. We invoke the RIC. We say in a month we're going to vote on this, and say it's something like carbon tax. You can vote yes or you can vote no. You think we're going to have a carbon tax here in Canada?
It's already been implemented in some places. Some provinces are paying the carbon tax.
We don't have a choice. Every 4 years, we elect dictators. Tell me I'm wrong.
You know, they're not just dictators. Do you notice that most of our politicians are lawyers? I got a problem with that alone. How come it's never an ex-doctor or an ex, you know, I mean, there's a lot of smart guys out there, but it seems to me that it's always lawyers that become politicians.
It is what it is. You got to be pretty bright to be a lawyer. At least that's the assumption we work under.
Well, doctors are pretty bright. Scientists are pretty bright. There's a lot of bright people out there, but it seems to me that the ones that are getting into politics are lawyers. Now, I don't know if you've ever dealt with lawyers, but they're not much nicer than politicians. You know, they seem to go hand in hand.
So, anyways, so if we can get people to spread the word about this petition that we're going to present to Bernier.
Yeah.
All it is for him to look at. He needs to see if there's people interested. It only takes you guys less than a minute. The links are all over the place. It's on Gary Gilbert's page. I'm sure you guys have come across the links.
I
shared
shared
down
it
on Facebook.
Rick
because,
Boswick shared it.
Yeah. But so look at it, sign it if you care to. If not, talk to somebody else about it. Keep the conversation going, because this is a golden opportunity for us to actually get it done. You really think a politician would want to have this kind of tool, the citizens to have a tool like us, the people, to be able to vote on policies? Like we know they're getting paid off. We know there's got to be a few of them that are corrupt. Like it's showing up. Shows up
You're
every
expecting
day.
Al Capone to give you his guns and say, "Here's the keys to my criminal empire."
They don't want it, but Bernier is willing to look at it. Let's hope he runs with it. Here's their chance, people.
Most petitions out there, people don't know that. I think I get 3 petitions a day people want me to sign.
Yeah.
If they're not backed up by an MP, they're garbage. They're
Even
not
if
going
they
to go.
are, there's no laws that require the members of parliament, provincial or federal or even regional and local. There's no regulations or laws that require them to pay attention, respect, or honor any petitions, any input. They're not bound by law to seek it. They're not bound by law to observe it. They are, according to the law, free to do as they please once they're elected.
Exactly, and this is another reason why we need the RIC to be implemented. This is just a start. Don't mislead people. This is just a start to get them to look at it. And he is a sitting MP. What he does with it, well, that's going to be up to us, the voters of Canada, and him and his caucus, his advisors.
I think we patriots should start a pool. I think we should start a pool on how Max Bernier gets Clinton aside. Because somebody's going to take him out. He's going to have a Ted Kennedy Chippewa Bridge accident.
Well, the idea is out there. We're going down this road. We got to get this thing implemented somehow. Otherwise, more of the same insanity. Liberal, progressive, and it just keeps going downhill.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Agenda 2021 and 2030. This is not Trudeau that started this.
No.
No. This has been going on for 50 years,
Yeah.
since the 40s or 50s.
This has been
Yeah.
going on for 200 years.
Well,
Matter.
the
Who do
elite
you
have
think?
been running
Okay,
the people.
okay, hang on. How well do you know your World War I history? What?
Some prince got shot.
Pardon me?
Superficially.
Some prince got shot.
So the Archduke of Austria was killed because he didn't want to support the unification of European countries. That's what they were trying to do, was form all the countries into one giant European sort of union. And he was against it, and he was killed, and that's what triggered World War I. And out of World War I, the Great Depression and everything else that came along, all the international hardships for your average citizen, that's when World War II was created. They, the powers that be, put economic hardship on the citizenry of the world. And what happened? Europe, the socially stressed and tension-filled Europe, exploded in violence. That's what's going to happen again. Only this time, the violence will ignite and go all like a firecracker. Remember when you were a kid and you bought packs of ladyfingers and they came like 50 firecrackers all strung together in a pack, and you could light the wick on one end, throw them, and the whole damn thing would go off? Well, that's what's going to happen. It's going to start in Europe, and just like that pack of firecrackers, it's going to go all around the world. Every single Muslim stronghold, places like Fort McMurray, places like, what's the neighborhood in Toronto? Thorncliffe, where the Danforth shooter and his brother lived. That's a whole Muslim occupied neighborhood. It will be one of the first Muslim no-go zones in Toronto when shit hits the fan. And that's what's going to happen. It'll start in Europe. Tom Quiggin told us this 2 years ago. It'll start in Europe, and it'll come here. And it's going to be just like watching them little fucking ladyfinger firecrackers go off. Bang, 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 bang. It's going to happen around the world.
Yeah.
Hey, Duke, you want to bring in if you want.
What's that? Ed, your microphone broke up. We couldn't
think
hear
about
you.
it. Since the,
Would you mind bringing in Gary? He can talk more about the Rick and the initiative and exactly get the details.
No, because this is the patio, and I don't want to get into all kinds of political shit. We'll do that on another night on my Politically Speaking show. And to be honest with you, and Gary can deny this and be offended by it if he wants, the truth is, he's like Mike Traherne. He gets on and he doesn't shut up. Nobody else gets to say anything for 45 minutes. He doesn't stop. Well, it's true.
I've had conversations with Gary.
I like him. And yeah, what he's got to say is important, but I need to put a mute button on him, and I can't when there's three of you on Skype together. If I mute the Skype, I mute all three of you. And like, sometimes I just get tired of saying, Gary, other people need to talk.
Well, he's got a lot to say, so.
well, you know what? I'll tell
and
you.
he lives in a town where the only people he's got to talk to are his dogs.
He has done a lot of research.
I don't deny that, but
He looks cold all the time. I feel bad for him. He looks like he's always cold. Every time I see him, he's in full parka.
It's 3 hours north of Thunder Bay. It's not like Florida. I can promise you
I
that.
know. Like, holy jeez, the guy. Talk about. I give thought to this. When you think about it, since the beginning of time, since kings and queens, it's always been the wealthy and the elite that rule over the citizens. since the beginning. Look at the Roman Empire.
Yep.
It was led by the rich and the elite. Why is it that because you have money, you get to dictate a way of life on the poor? And that's where this referendum thing is a beautiful thing, because maybe we're going to turn the tide of history around, and for once, the people could govern themselves. And I know that that's basically what this Rick is about, because you'd get to vote on all these things that these governments, they vote on it, they implement it, whether we like it or not. There's many, many things that have been implemented in this country, and the majority of the citizens opposed it. I thought majorities ruled. Minorities are ruling.
Okay, your audio keeps
running. The government is wagging the dog.
Your audio keeps breaking up there, Dan.
If I can add to that, if you look at the experience in Iceland, they jailed the bankers, they jailed some of the politicians, they got back their central bank, so they're not in the World Bank system anymore. They still operate okay in that system, but they've got their own Icelandic bank. And many other things. Oh, they rewrote their constitution, and that all got passed with the Rick.
Okay.
Now they still have governments.
Now
still do
here's
daily government.
Okay. Stop right there, Ed.
Okay.
You just said one word that absolutely unequivocally defines the difference between every other country in the world and Canada. Do you know what you said? Tell me, what word did you say, Ed, that makes every other country different from Canada? What did they do in Iceland with their constitution? What was the word you used?
They rewrote it.
They what?
Rewrote it.
Rewrote it?
Yes.
Rewrote it, meaning it existed beforehand. Right?
Right.
We don't have one here beforehand in Canada. We don't have one to rewrite. We don't have one to fall back on and say, look, our Constitution says we have the right to referendum. We don't have one of those, Ed. We're not a legitimate country to begin with.
We do have a charter.
But it doesn't include any of that, and it's not our charter. It's not ours.
Well, it's England's.
No, hang on, Dan. It was presented to the representatives of the provinces at Meech Lake. The people's representatives at Meech Lake rejected it and said, no, we can't force this on our people. Pierre Elliott Trudeau went, okay, we'll rewrite it. He called all of the leaders of the people, our leaders, back to Charlottetown, PEI, and held another a meeting. And our leaders said, no, we will not submit our people to these laws. And you know what Pierre Trudeau did? He said, fuck you and your people. I have a majority government. We're going to pass it anyhow. It's not our Constitution, Dan. You had no part in writing it. Ed had no part in approving of it. None of us had any part in creating it. And nowhere in that document does it state that you, as people, not persons, persons are corporations, we have creator-given rights that corporations don't have. Our so-called Constitution, which is really the charter, it's not a constitution, it's a charter. Don't call it what it's not. If it was a constitution, it would be called the Constitution of the People of Canada. And it's not. It's called the Charter of Freedoms and Rights. It's not a constitution, it's a charter. Okay? It does
I
not
made that
refer
distinction.
to a man and a woman. It does not refer to people. It does not refer to human beings. It refers to persons. The persons of Canada, which means you, Dan Dubois, have no more rights than Bob's garage down the street from your place in Sudbury. You have no more rights than a corporation.
Now, we could get these rights back using the tool which the RIC is, if it's ever implemented.
But this is just it. Where are you going to get them back from? You can't get them back. They don't exist back anywhere. We don't have to get them back, Ed. We have to create them.
I was going to say, that's where you would be writing new laws.
And that isn't done by referendum. That's done by constitutional convention. So, referendum by initiated by the citizens, Yellow Vest, RIC, is the first step, just like the convoy. The convoy's real success wasn't what they did in Ottawa, sucking Bernier's dick and sucking Scheer's dick and walking away with political DNA on their chin, okay? Instead of saying, fuck you, this is about the people. That shit show in Ottawa, that's not what the convoy was about. The convoy was about that video I played at the beginning of this show, where everyday Joe citizen Canadians felt that patriotism, that Canadianism in their chest. That's what the convoy was about. They don't realize it. The organizers, Glenn Carrick, they don't realize that that's the most important thing that convoy did. Was it woke up and it unified Canadians, okay? And that's what the RIC movement and the Yellow Vest movement will do. It will awaken and unify Canadians. And only through the failure of the RIC movement will Canadians realize that we don't have anything to get back. We don't have rights. They never existed, Ed. We have to create them, and that's not done through referendum. That's done through constitutional convention. But we have to walk the path to get to the end of the journey. And part of that pathway is this whole exercise of the Yellow Vest RIC movement, because it's how we educate an otherwise comatose society.
You got a lot of valid points
You know what? That's exactly right. You know what? You said that exactly right. That is what it's going to do. It's actually the first step in creating these new laws.
I just don't want people to be misled thinking it's going to solve the problem. No, it's not.
No,
it's going to open the door that will let us solve the problem.
No, it's actually the beginning of the solution to solving the problem.
Thank you.
The
it's
RIC
the
is only
first step. It's not the only step. It's just the first step. But it's a step we have to take.
Of course.
And people have to understand that going into it, when it fails, we have to be ready to sit back and say, why did it fail? It failed because what we thought we had, we never really had to begin with.
Well, it's not going to fail. It's not. You can't look at it like it's going to fail. It would actually be implemented and would open doors to discussions as to what the problems are and finding solutions. And like you're saying, then that's when you start that process of creating new law and new rights. And
the only way the RIC could be passed or worked through our current government system is if Max Bernier were to win a majority government and support the referendum initiated by citizens concept and pass legislation that would allow it. Okay? So, in a real world, folks, let's put aside our Max Bernier's gonna save us all. Euphoria. And let's look at a real world. Is Max Bernier going to form a majority government and turn the Rick into his first term priority legislation? Is he?
Obviously not. No.
That's up to him to decide. And his
Really,
caucus.
Ed? Ed, are you really that naive to think that he would even consider rattling the entire fucking political system? All the thousands and tens of thousands of bureaucrats who have spent 3 generations of their families sucking political and corporate dick to stay in the high-priced position of life that they're in. And you know exactly who I'm... Do you think Gerald Butts is the only member of his family who gets paid a ridiculous more amount of money than he's really worth just because he sits on the board of directors of Dick Sucker #1 and the board of directors of Ass Kisser #2 and the board of directors for Shit Sucker #4? They all do that, and that's how they keep things under control. Gerald Butts is kept under control by his 6 uncles who are strategically hired by 6 large corporations who do fuck all for the corporations, except they're the corporation's way of tweaking Gerald Butts's little collar and pull chain. And that happens in politics all the time. Do you really think Bombardier is going to sit back and let Max Bernier hand the power of corrupt government back over to the people? Do you really think the CAW is going to sit back and Unifor is going to sit back and let that happen? Think about the Unifor guy you ran into in Markham, Ed. No one's illegal. Do you think Unifor is going to sit back and let a government do that?
If Max is true to his word, and he's all about his principles, which are the center of his platform, and fairness, respect, responsibility, freedom. Yeah.
What's going to happen on the street, Ed? What's going to happen on the street?
Well, to a certain extent, Duke, Trump is doing such things.
Yeah.
Well, Trump is doing a lot of unpopular things to, listen, all the Democrats hate it. That's a big opposition, but yet he's standing firm.
And you've seen during the Kavanaugh questioning, when he was being brought into the Supreme Court, the whole country saw leftists sabotaging, damaging, vandalizing Kavanaugh's home. Are you ready for that to happen in your home, Dan? Because I've already had them slash my car tires, put my picture up on posters on telephone poles. I get hate mail. Are you ready for things to get even worse? Because if Bernier gets elected and tells all these leftists that, guess what? I'm giving guys like Dan Dubois and Ed Jamnisek and Duke Willis the ability to directly influence the government. Take a guess. Tell me what you picture the world being like the morning after that announcement gets made.
Well, as much as we'd have opposition, Duke, we'd also have support.
Yeah?
You know?
That does my... That support does my car tires a whole lot of good. That support does my daughter a whole lot of good when leftists like Tim Kelly from here in St. Catharines attack her on social media. That support doesn't do much fucking good when I'm laying in my driveway. That support doesn't do much good when I'm laying in the parking lot at Walmart, beat the fuck out of, because 3 Antifas from Brock University saw me and decided to track me down like the ones we saw in Ottawa, Ed.
Come on, they're not that bad, Duke. I was talking to them on Saturday, and all they do is flick your hat.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, we're not all 6'4", fuck.
But they stomp on the ground and scream at you pretty good. My ears are still ringing from that.
You know what? I say that if that was to happen,
Antifa's the only thing you got to worry about being pissed off at you, go smoke some pot, buddy, because you're living in a dream world. People are going to be shooting at you.
Listen, If
The
we
government's
if we
gonna be
got
shooting at you.
you know half of the citizens to support you, then you're doing pretty good. Fact is that you would see a lot of support come out of the woodwork.
No, you
People
won't.
are afraid now.
No,
Everybody's
you
scared
won't.
to
You know
speak
why
out.
you won't?
But if the right was to gain some traction, you would see a lot of people join that side of the narrative. To say, you know.
No, you
Let's
won't.
not forget what the
You raise the price of
Silent
fucking
majority.
Timmy's coffee and you'll see them get pissed off. Like, seriously,
look at the
these are
pipeline
Canadians we're talking about. You raise the price of a Timmy's coffee, then they'll get fucking pissed off. You take gasoline from $1.20 down to 85 cents and back up to $1.10 in 2 weeks. They don't give a shit. They'll take it up the ass and then thank you for fucking them. Because they're Canadians.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of share that opinion too. I know Canadians are so tolerant. The weakness is apparent. It's a sad thing. It's a sad state of affair, but they'll only take so much,
Testicles
I
have
hope.
been bred out of Canadian men.
Yeah. Well, when I see these Antifa guys, I see that's pretty apparent. Yeah.
Personally, I think they feed them drugs and the food that they give them before they come to these marches because they do not behave like normal people.
Ed, what part of they're mentally programmed and conditioned?
Yeah.
Show me the average 20 to 25-year-old Canadian who physically rushes his whole body at a line of police officers yelling, "Fascist! Fascist! Fascist!" And they literally, I don't care if you're a cop, I'm fucking pushing you back into that fence and there's nothing you can do about it. You've watched them do that in Ottawa, Ed. Tell me the mentality it takes for a 20-something-year-old Canadian to be programmed by his school professors to do that, Ed. Because their signs are made in the art department at Carleton University, Ed.
Yeah, they are being indoctrinated at a young age. That's, the tolerance level in Canada is at an all-time high.
I got a solution for that kind of brainwashing, Ed. It's a 6-shot revolver and there's one in your picture. That's the solution. Right?
You know, we wish we could bring solution that easily, but that's, you know what, living in a civilized society, we can't do that. You got to try to reason and keep pushing your agenda and keep preaching and let the evidence and the chips fall where it may. People are seeing that they're losing their jobs. They're seeing that they're not having as good a way of life as they could have. They're seeing everything being raised from this country.
Are they seeing that their 22-year-old kids at college going into debt for the rest of their life with Ontario Student Assistance Program loans that they can never, ever declare bankruptcy from? They owe until they die. Are they realizing that these kids of theirs are going to schools and institutions that are programming and brainwashing them against everything their parents grew up to believe in?
Here's one for you. My nephew, he's 12 years old. Just the other day, he asked me, what do I think about Trudeau, the Prime Minister? I says, well, it's probably the worst Prime Minister we've ever had in this country. Quite possibly the worst Prime Minister in the world ever. He says, really? My teacher told me he's the best Prime Minister we've ever had. I says, well, Louis, judge him by what he does. Look at all the stupid policies he's brought in. Look at how our economy's slowly going down. Look at how many people have been laid off out west because they stopped the pipeline.
Never mind out west. Just last week or the week before, I did a video right here showing you that people in Niagara were laid off halfway through December, right before Christmas. 15 guys in the company I work for went through Christmas and New Year's laid off because of the Alberta work situation.
Yep.
Like, don't say it's affecting Alberta. It affects our whole country, Ed.
Oh, we're in a recession. No one's saying it, though. You don't hear about it in the news or on the radio.
Well, no, the propaganda machine is owned by the government. Like, that's the other thing we need to destroy is the CRTC and all of our major media. The CRTC, the Canadian Radio Television Communications System, control system, it is nothing more than a government propaganda control network.
If you look on Bernier's platform, he wants to eliminate the CRTC and change the licensing requirements. He wants to defund the CBC.
Yep. I've read that.
No. Yeah, you know what? That's what I keep saying. I feel that Bernier is the lesser of the four evils, but let's be clear, he is an evil too.
Yeah.
I believe that, I don't trust any of these damn politicians. I think Bernier he's not going to be the savior, but he might be the lesser of the four evils. But one thing that I trust in is that as long as Canadian citizens like ourselves, people like us, the activists, keep the pressure on rallies, convoys, yellow vest events, it's going to keep the government on their toes.
I'll tell you what,
they're going to start realizing that the citizens are starting to stand up and that they better start.
That's what we need to work on.
Navigating the ship properly, or else.
That's what we need to work on, okay? We need to continue working on little sidewalk protests in your hometowns, waking up your neighbors.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, folks, these DVDs that I do, and you know what? Just so you people know, there's 3 more packs. I'm not turning them around because I don't want to show people's addresses. There you can see I put my return address up on the top, okay? Each one of these holds 8 DVDs. There's, what have I put in here? Oh, there's Northern Guard decals. There's a couple of Alberta Wild Rose stickers that I've put in there.
And there's going to be C3 decals that have actually been shipped off to you this morning, Duke.
Yep. C3 is sending me a bunch of decals that I put in for $10. This one is going to Revelstoke, British Columbia, so central BC. This one is going to Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And this one is going to Ottawa, Ontario. I've been mailing these things out, not including the Patriot who took 100 DVDs in one lump. I've been mailing out, this makes 19, 20, and 21 packages of DVDs that I've mailed out. Folks, these things are great. This DVD right now, these are my Truth Bomb video, which features Faith Goldie and a little bit of Rocco Galati at the end of it. Next month, starting March, tomorrow I'm burning off the new DVDs. It's an hour of Tom Quiggin, okay? None of these DVDs, none of these videos are me promoting me. In fact, if there isn't room for me to put my social media contacts either at the beginning or the end because it doesn't fit on the DVD, I don't put it in there. These aren't about promoting me, okay? I burn these and I send them out to you so that when you're walking into Tim Hortons in the morning and that same group of guys is over in the corner every morning, drop off a couple of DVDs. If you're doing a yellow vest protest, the warm weather's coming. People are going to have their windows open. They're going to roll up to an intersection where you're standing there holding a sign. They got their window open. They're going to say, "What are you protesting?" Stick a DVD in the window and tell them, take it home and watch it. Sheila, they're $10 for a package of 8 DVDs. Email me at dukewillis@gmail.com. I'll get your address. We'll arrange payment either through my PayPal or you can e-transfer the $10 to me
and I'll mail them off to you. It takes about 3 to 4. I've found it takes about 3 to 4 days for Canada Post to get it to you. Sorry to interrupt and get off on a tangent there, guys, but those DVDs are really working out well. I'm surprised how many people, and really pleased how many people are taking the initiative to order them and take the time to hand them out.
So what do you make off of each 8 CDs? 50 cents?
About 90 cents.
90 cents. So $1 for 2 hours of your time?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah, you're not going to get rid of it like that.
I knew you were in it for yourself. I friggin' knew it.
Yeah, I buy my DVDs in bulk, and I figure if Rudy can make money at this, I'm going to fucking retire at $1 a package.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew you weren't altruistic. I friggin' knew it.
Yeah, wait till I start my GoFundYou page and start giving away all my millions from selling DVDs. It's a reverse GoFundMe.
All I know, I want to kind of finish off with saying that that the system is actually broken and it's controlled, and when we start seeing politicians go to jail, or that there's complete transparency in their politics, then we'll know that we've actually made some progress. But until that happens, we're still not there. When I see politicians get charged and go to jail, like, these people are criminals, and they're not being jailed. They're not being charged. It's sad. Me and you steal a chocolate bar, and we will face repercussions.
Oh, okay, but
these people are doing terrible, illegal things, and nothing happens to them.
Okay, now Doug Force will put it in a very politically correct and legalese understandable sort of lingo. I'm going to put it to you in loading dock language, okay? So here it is in tow motor driver fashion. Our corrupt government, the mafia that we call a government, has been in charge of writing the laws since 1930. They've had 80 to 100 years to rewrite all the laws, all the legislation, to make sure that they are protected. They can't be charged with anything, hence the phrase parliamentary immunity, okay? They've had 100 years to make sure the system is perfect for them and leaves us fucked.
Yeah.
That's why that's why here in Canada, Rick won't work, because we don't have the foundation of a real government. You'll hear Doug Force talk about how in the U.S., and this is one of the things that created a whole lot of controversy, and I can't get into too much detail about it, but someone we all know got fired because of the things Doug Force said on his radio. And no, don't mention his name, please. If you know who I'm talking about, don't mention his name. I don't want to, until the man tells me, yes, it's okay to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it. And I've been in communication with both of the people involved, and they've asked me not to mention names or give too many details. So, Ed, I see you going, yeah, don't say nothing, okay? You know who I'm talking about. Other people know who I'm talking about, but that's it. We're not going to discuss names out of respect for the parties involved.
But anyways, Doug Force, he has a lot of information. A lot of it is dated. Some of it's accurate. Is all of it accurate? Do we know that for sure? Has anyone done any fact checking? I'd like to consider the guy being honest and knowledgeable, but if this movie was so great and these facts were so great, why isn't it out already? The guy is a movie maker. He's not a
he's not a movie maker. By profession, he is a consultant to businesses. He's a business consultant. Okay? He's not a movie maker.
So this is new for him then. Okay.
Yeah. The
But not a
movie,
lawyer, though.
the whole concept of the movie
is to be a vehicle for him to get the information that he's learned and gathered out to the public. Okay? That's why he comes on shows like mine. That's why he goes on the radio show that he was on that I was just talking about that we can't talk about. Yeah, Gary Gilbert says he is attempting to become a movie producer. Yeah, he'll tell you he's not a movie producer, and he does have a team of people working with him who do movie production work, okay? And his estimates for finances are somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 to fund that movie right through to actually having it out in theaters, okay? And believe it or not, distribution is the biggest cost to production. The actual sitting down at a computer and, you know, putting it all together, that's not the big cost. It's the distribution, getting it out into theaters that actually costs a whole lot of money, and advertising, that sort of thing. But again, we're talking, he and I have been talking about the grassroots sort of distribution.
Hey, you know how he can get that out? If he's almost got the movie finished, he can go on the social platform, set up a page, and make it $1 per view if he wanted to. That's out there. That's available. He can do that today.
Yeah, well, it's got to get made first. And he's still looking into a whole bunch of other aspects, like the movie's going to include how a constitutional referendum would actually physically happen. Now, as I said earlier tonight, I was involved in the initial structuring of groups like the Ride for Sight and the Bikers' Rights Organization, and they all work the same way. It's a group of guys get together and you decide, okay, well, we need an organization with a president and a treasurer, and you go through and you just write it all out. And back in those days, we used snail mail or fax to send things back and send copies of stuff back and forth. With today's instant communications, you could be sending emails of documents getting ratified by this group in Northern Ontario and this group in Eastern Ontario and this group in Windsor and this group of, and have that all done in a matter of a week, when back in the late 70s, early 80s, it took us a week just to get the mail from Niagara-on-the-Lake to Sault Ste. Marie, so people in Sault Ste. Marie could see what the group in Niagara had modified or changed, right? But really, that's what a constitutional convention is you sit down and you take, okay, this is what we've got to work with, and this is the part of it that we don't like and know doesn't work, so we're going to get rid of that. This we want to change, and that we want, and you send your changes off to the next group who either go yes or, well, okay, change it, but change it this way. And then to the next group, and that's how it works.
Duke, I'm going to ask you one question.
Sure.
Looking for
without the Rick, how can we even go down this road?
You can't. But
exactly.
But
that's why the Rick
no. Hear me out. What purpose are you hoping to achieve with the Rick?
If it initiates the movement of people taking back the country.
Okay.
It's the first step in actually having the people have a say in what goes on in this damn country.
Okay, so I'm going to ask
step
you...
number one.
I'm going to ask you to compare this to the truckers' convoy. Are you pushing the Rick agenda to achieve something in Ottawa, or are you pushing the Rick agenda to achieve something in the journey to Ottawa? What is your goal of pushing the Rick? If you are pushing the Rick to achieve a change in Ottawa, you're doing what the convoy did, ignoring all the people along the way, ignoring all the fireworks. and you're focusing on speeches in Ottawa, if that's all you're pushing the Rick for, if you want to push the Rick, the biggest asset, the biggest outcome is the push. It's what happens as you put. It's all those people that stood along the highway. It's all those people that went out and raised money and brought it to the convoy.
Yeah.
That's the effect of the Rick, not getting Max Bernier to change the laws, because that will take 8 years, and we don't have that long. What makes you think the next Danforth shooter is going to wait 8 years for Max Bernier's second term in office for him to implement this? What makes you think the central banks in Europe are going to wait 8 years before they collapse the European economy and all the rest of the international economies tied into the central banking system, meaning Canadian economy, and bring civil war and social unrest that way? What makes you think that all of these other factors are going to hold off 8 years until Max the Savior Bernier gets his second term with a majority government? Because earlier tonight, Dan, you said, well, no, he won't do that in his first term. So
No, there's no, you know what? I don't remember saying that, but that's besides the point.
Well, okay.
I don't remember even recalling thinking he's going to have a second term, even a first term.
No,
The
but
fact
we
is
talked about
that
it, and I said
nothing-
to you, would he do that in his first term? And you said no.
Well, I can't do, nothing could be done overnight. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So
You can't even buy a car.
Our
overnight.
best
I mean,
hope
you know,
with Rick is
it's to initiate the movement.
Gary Gilbert is
people
saying, for
taking
fuck's
back
sakes,
the
you keep
government.
bragging about being a truth seeker or truth seek. Stop opinionating and insinuating. Max Bernier cannot change something as radical as referendum initiated law. It's not like he's reenacting. He has to introduce it for the very first time.
Duke, I don't know what the timeline is.
Listen, you got to start somewhere.
Exactly. You got to start
You
somewhere.
have to start somewhere. There's a beginning
I
to
agree.
everything.
I agree.
So
but
the
but
Rick
stop
is
putting.
actually a good alternative to a good beginning. And then you let things unfold. I mean, and things would fall into place once you get the proper people and citizens to be able to actually have a voice in what goes on in the country. This would be a step in the right direction, and it's not going to happen overnight. And it might take longer than 8 years. But
We
fact
don't have
is
that
that you've got to start somewhere.
Right, but this is my point. By starting, you have to realize that the goal of what you're starting is not to implement 8 years or change 8 years down the road. The goal of what you're starting and the biggest achievement it's going to have, just like the convoy set out to raise awareness and make a difference in Ottawa. That was their goal, make a difference in Ottawa. The biggest
What
result,
difference did
the
it make in
biggest
Ottawa?
the biggest benefit of that convoy was the gathering of people, the awakening, the awareness along their journey. Not what they did in Ottawa.
That's a very valuable thing. That's a very valuable thing.
And that's exactly what the Rick movement is going to achieve. It's not going to achieve a Max Bernier change the laws and let us peacefully assume power.
Well, nobody's
Because we
saying
don't
that.
have-
You're saying that. Nobody's saying that. You're saying that. You're saying that we're saying that. Nobody said that so far, Duke.
Well,
You're
but
the
that's
one
what
that's
the
been
Rick
saying that.
is. The Rick
Nobody,
is
I don't
return
know.
power to
I
the
don't
people.
think. I don't believe the Rick is a miracle thing. I don't think it's going to turn things over overnight. I'm a realist. I know that it could take 10 years, but I also know that the end has always had a beginning. So you got to start somewhere. And the RIC, if all it does is unites Canadians together to recognize that we have a problem in this country and that people are finally willing to stand up and take control of it, then it's been successful, and it was the most wonderful thing this country's ever implemented.
My biggest worry is 30 million Canadians are going to get behind the RIC movement, and when it doesn't pan out to be all that they were led to believe it was going to be, 29 million of them are going to walk away.
Well, you know what? What are they going to walk away to? Back to where the way it was? I mean, you know, are you going to step out of the frying pan and get right back into the fire? No, I believe that it would open challenges, but it might open a narrative to come up with solutions. Solutions that the citizens actually believe in and endorse. The conversation has to get, you cannot come to solutions without having a conversation. And things like the RIC open that up. They open that conversation. They open a door. And once that door is open, God knows what it'll lead to. But you got to open the door.
Let me give you this little bit of history. Former Yugoslavia, communist socialist country. Marshal Tito passed away in 87 or 88. By 91, Slovenia seceded and called its own, formed its own country using a constitution. Unfortunately, they didn't hold on to the RIC. That's why they're in the mess they're in right now with 30 different political parties. But that turned around in 3 years. They separated, and they were only at war for about a week and a bit. All the plans were made. All the munitions were purchased, guarded. They even had their own uniforms before the day came when they said the second constitution was held, and it was July 5th, I believe. They said, we separate, we're our own country, and started asking countries around the world to accept them as a true country. That was done through a constitution. They turned that around 3 or 4 years.
Through a constitution is different than RIC. RIC opened the door.
No, right. But they had a referendum. 2 of them. And after the second one, they took action. So back in those days, they turned that around in less than 4 years without computers.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I was just saying a few minutes ago, is just imagine how easy it would be for us to do with the technology we have now.
So, yeah, and with this new RIC, now that we've got the, what's that technology they use for Bitcoin? Keep forgetting this damn word. Oh, it's that cryptocurrency. Oh, come on, give me the word. Bitcoin is based on, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. What is it? Was it?
I'll reach through the matrix and smack you in the back of the head.
Oh.
I only know Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
It's based on a technology. What's it called? Come on, someone in the chat, give it to me. Blockchain technology. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. So, blockchain digital technology is available. It's in use. And they've customized it for elections and or the RIC. This can be all done securely. It can't be hacked because it's not centralized. Like there's computers all over the world. And blockchain, you can't hack it as of yet. So the technology is there to implement it.
As of yet.
Yeah, that's the key word there. Keywords there. Yeah. As of yet.
We can always go back to paper ballots.
I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
What's wrong with paper ballots?
Well, in Florida, they have 6,000 more voters than people that actually live in the ridings.
How many votes that they find in those transports there down south too. It's something like 1 million votes for Trump they found in trucks hidden in the bush, like paper votes, because they didn't have technology there. And
That
these
were
trucks
not counted?
they were not counted. They found 2 transport full of paper votes that were actually backed up into the bush and left there.
Yep.
Did you hear about that too?
I haven't heard about that yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But that wouldn't be in mainstream media, would it?
That's another thing that I don't trust is I don't trust this damn electronic voting. We had it here in Sudbury for the last provincial election, and it broke down. They gave us an extra 24 hours to vote. Well, how do you do that? The vote's over at midnight. They're telling, no, you can come back later. Well, how many people didn't go back? You only got time off work, maybe at 1 o'clock or whatever, to go place. They let you off work to go vote. You get there, the machines are down, and they tell you, oh, you can come back. It's not 24 hours, but it was a few hours later. They were promising to have the machines back up and running before the end of the day when the votes have to be tallied. And supposedly the machines were, because when I went, they were working. But I don't trust that. I don't trust that as far as I can throw it. Technology can easily be hacked. Technology can, you can manipulate technology.
You can, but blockchain, no. It can't be hacked.
Yet, you said.
Yet. Okay, I'm a bit of a pessimist. But right now, no. And for the foreseeable future, I would say no. But I'm sure there's other people. Is anyone putting anything in the post here? Anything? Okay, some people have said any electronic can be breached. Yeah, it's possible, but you know what? Something this big, something this important, I'm sure the people that are behind it will be working hard to make sure that it can't. Because then society falls apart.
Guys like Soros, those guys. Soros, the guy that owns the machines. That guy.
Hey, he's in it to make money.
Well, that's what they were saying in the States. They were Soros machines.
And Trump still won.
Yeah.
It's nice to know.
Yeah, even with 1 million votes in the bush.
Anyways, wow, we've been going on here for a bit. If you people are interested, please go take a look at the RIC and what's being proposed right now. The videos are, press on my icon, and if you go to my page, you'll see videos explaining what this whole initial movement is to get the RIC adopted by PPC. Now they're going to look at it. That's all they're promising, is to look at it. But we got to bring enough interest to say, yeah, this is a good thing. We as Canadians need this. You can make a little 30-second video and send that off to me or to whoever. We'll make sure that Bernier has an opportunity to view it. And then he's going to decide, yeah, he's going to stand with us or he won't. It's going to be telling, though. If he refuses to take it, he's going to have a pretty good reason. Now, if we don't show enough interest, you could say, look, there's not enough people interested. People really don't care about this. Why get on board? But that's his choice and the party's choice. But here's our chance. It's a good chance. Sitting parliamentarian. He's sitting right now. He's the only one that's even looked at it. They've all been contacted about it. I got high hopes, but I'm a pilot, so I got to be. The weather. They're always saying the weather's lousy, but we fly anyways. And yeah, it is.
Yeah, you got to be optimistic when you're a pilot.
Yeah. Pilot. Definition of a pilot: a guy who says landing is just controlled crashing.
That's what they taught at the school.
Yeah.
Optimist.
Yeah, for the eternal optimist.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what's great about flying in planes? We've never technically lost one. They always come back to Earth.
Maybe not in the same condition they went up in.
Yeah. What goes up must come down. That's the problem.
Yeah. Hey, you know what makes planes fly?
Lift.
Besides that,
What?
money.
Oh, yeah. That's like boats.
Yeah,
I got one of those. You know what boat stands for, eh? Bust out another 1,000.
That's the line I was going to use. BOAT,
Yeah.
bust out another 1,000.
That's what boat means. Yeah.
Although Ed owns an airplane, so it's
That's why I'm broke.
BOATT, bust out another 10,000.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, expensive toys, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, and you know
I
the difference
I like
between an
mine
engine
better. I
failing...
like,
What's that?
yeah, if my engine fails, I was just going to say, I just pull out a paddle.
Yeah.
You know, I don't pull out a parachute. I can move with a paddle. Yeah. Fuck the
Hey,
parachute.
If my engine fails, I just glide down to a suitable landing spot. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, those big trees or those big rocks there or whatever.
Rocks can be bad. The tops of trees are actually very survivable. People walk away from that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of paddle to shore.
Yeah, just pull your engine stalls, pull your plane over to a cloud and park it for a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Skyhook.
Oh, we can do that.
Yeah, skyhook.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. It's getting
Right
on for
on.
11:30 at night.
Oh, you know what? Let me mention this too. While we talked a little bit about our rally. You know that bikers thing that's coming from out west? All these bikes are coming for July 6th.
Yeah.
They've confirmed that they're going to stay over till July 20th and will be attending the rally.
Wow.
So we've got the biker rally from out west attending July 20th. And we now have all our First Nations, at least a majority from what Loretta tells me. She can get a hold of, the people of importance, that activists in First Nations, and she told me to expect a strong representation of First Nations on Capitol Hill July 20th. So it's really unfolding to be a much bigger rally than that last year. There's free parking, I want to tell people too, on the western side of Parliament building. All kinds of free parking because Parliament is out. So we have lots of room to park, so that's not a concern.
Yeah, folks, if you look at your GPS, the GPS will show you where the Supreme Court building is on the west side of the Parliament building. If you're standing on the street and you're facing the Peace Tower and the Parliament building, to your left is the Supreme Court, and just to the left of that is several parking lots that are open. That's where the Patriots all park. That's where you'll find the C3 members parked in there. Lamute parks in there. That's pretty much where all of us park.
And that was the next thing, because you just mentioned them, is Lamute. Last year, Lamute did not attend our rally because, I'm going to say it, because they really did not endorse Kevin Goudreau. Okay? They got all mad that Kevin Goudreau was showing up on the Hill, and they didn't show up just because of that. What they read wrong is that by letting Goudreau show up on Capitol Hill is not an endorsement of the man or what he stands for, but we have no choice. If a person wants to attend the rally, unless he starts a fight or is unruly, we can't throw him off the hill.
Yeah.
And number two, Kevin Goudreau showed more heart than most Canadians that sat at home and didn't give a shit and didn't show up on Parliament Hill. And number three, Kevin Goudreau is now going to be removing that tattoo off his chest and exposing it publicly, and making a public denouncement of any type of endorsement towards Nazism or white supremacism. And I've heard that from a patriot this is about the only part I don't endorse. He's actually started a GoFundMe to get funds to pay to have this tattoo covered up with another tattoo. He wants us to pay to cover up his tattoo.
Survey says,
yeah, survey says cover up your own damn tattoo, Kevin. That's a good move, a smart move. Make it public, and you know what? Then maybe people won't, look down on you so much. You kind of shot yourself in the foot when you did that. But coming back to Lemieux, I know that there's a new leadership out there, so if anybody's watching this video and has contacts to the new leaders of Lemieux, I implore them to please get a hold of these guys, to get a hold of me, so that we can have a parley. I would like to speak to these guys. I want to reassure them that, I got to keep saying it, that there is absolutely no racism or racism-type aspect to C3. Contrary to what some believe. And I put out a public challenge out the other day, a few days ago, that anyone has any type of evidence whatsoever that would prove that C3 is racist in even the most minute way, to bring that information forward.
Well,
racist
hang on a minute. Hang on. Whoa, just back the bus up a second here, Vern. I'll have you know that I am a proud racist. I am a rational adult condemning Islamist, socialist totalitarianism. I am a proud Canadian maple leaf waving racist.
Well, that's not a racist.
Okay.
I got a confession. I got to come out. I'm going to out myself right here, right now on Facebook. I only eat white snow. I will not touch the yellow snow. I will not touch the brown snow.
Well, since we're all out being honest, I'm a lesbian.
Trapped in a man's body?
Nah, I'm a lesbian. I got this thing for women. I don't know what it is, but yeah. So basically, that's all I wanted to say. Anyways, is that we're hoping
here's my award-winning video show, folks. We're discussing how Dan is. Well, we're not even going to discuss that anymore. I figure this show's going to win me an Oscar.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, I'm hoping for a great peaceful event. If you're thinking of coming to the July 20th and starting trouble, it won't be accepted. There's a strong police enforcement at these events, and anybody showing up causing any kind of disruption will be removed. So with that said, they've always been peaceful events. I'm sure this one will be as well. But yeah, if somebody can get me in touch with some of the Lemieux leaders, I would really like. Storm Alliance showed up last year, and I'm hoping they do again this year. But I'd like to see Lemieux there as well.
Dan, what's the message? Why do people want to show up to this rally?
Well,
people are sitting on the fence and thinking, I don't know if I want to go. Why would I want to go?
Well, this is we called it Canadians for Canada rally for a reason. Same as last year, the theme is that anything that you disagree with that this government has done, whether it be carbon tax or the pipeline or illegal immigration, or you want to push for the RIC, whatever you would like to put on your sign is allowed. We don't have one theme in mind. It's every single little thing that has offended you or that you oppose that this government did. You're welcome to put it on your sign and make it be part of the visible opposition.
If you're one of those people who needs to label things, you need to categorize things, consider this rally to be we the people.
Right. Canadians for Canada.
Yeah.
So technically there could be prostitutes showing up from English-speaking Canada crying out that they only took French or Quebec prostitutes to Algeria or whatever that country was. Yeah. SNC-Lavalin is being racist because They didn't take prostitutes from the rest of the country and just from Quebec.
Yeah.
They could complain about that, eh?
There you go. Well, that's a pretty legitimate complaint. In all fairness, I mean, you should have a variety. Come on.
like don't be discriminating against the hoes.
Yeah. Well, they say Canada's diverse, right? And they say diversity is our part of our culture and part of our wealth. Well,
Fuck that shit. Oh,
you know,
wait.
I couldn't believe that.
Could I say that out loud?
That's hilarious. I can't believe that our government actually paid for hookers.
No, it's not our government. It was SNC Lavalin
Or Lavalin.
that sent
Yeah.
them out there from Quebec. That's what I heard. So,
Well,
I am not going to get into a discussion about hookers and politicians because it will take
They go
us back
hand
to
in
the
hand.
early 1980s and I'll come out looking like a pimp.
Yeah.
By the way, pimp stands for player in a management position.
thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
just so you know.
I'm happy I didn't go to bed tonight not knowing that.
All right, gentlemen. I got one rolled.
Okay.
I got
Right
one
on.
rolled. We've been 2+ hours here on this video tonight.
Yeah, it was good. We covered a few good topics.
And we talked about a whole lot of things, and we pissed Gary off. He's been calling all of us a bunch of different names in the chat room.
Oh, I'm going to go look at that.
Says he's going to go out. He's going to go live after
eh?
this show on
Catalyst Network
on the
on
Facebook group called Catalyst Network. Okay.
Everybody's going to be in bed.
That's where I'm going. Hi, Peter. How are you? Peter Salemi. If you're still watching, buddy, who was it that you interviewed from the convoy? You interviewed a fella, and I watched part of it, and I can't remember his name. Oh my
Wasn't it
God!
that
I'm
Mark
scrolling
again?
way down here. Maybe Peter's not still in there. I just realized that at the bottom of my chat window it said new posts, and I started scrolling, and it was like, okay, we'll pack a lunch and keep scrolling.
Was that big guy with a beard, Mark Friesen, maybe? I think he interviewed. Not sure.
I forget who it was. He mentioned the guy's name, and I had to go. I couldn't watch the whole show, and then I couldn't find it again when I went back to it.
What did he look like?
I didn't see it. I watched the beginning of Peter's show and said he was going to talk to some guy, one of the organizers, and he said the guy's name, and it wasn't Glenn Carrick, and it wasn't Jason.
Or Bill?
No.
Might have been that Mark Friesen guy. Mark Friesen or whatever.
Jason Corbeil. It wasn't Glenn Carrick or Jason. Maybe it might have been Friesen, but it was pronounced, I think, Friesen.
Yeah.
Mark. That's Mark Friesen. Yeah.
But it was pronounced differently, like
Friesen or something.
Lechen or something. Anyhow, I'll get a hold of Peter and sort it out because I don't know who that guy is. I have no idea. Just all of a sudden in Ottawa, he showed up and was up on stage and claiming to be one of the organizers, and all the way from out west, every time I talked to Carl Fleury, he kept telling me that Glenn Carrick is the guy organizing all this. He's the #1 guy. And they get to Ottawa, and all of a sudden there's like 4 different people claiming to be the organizers of it.
Well, what it was there was the actual truckers, convoy organizer, and then there was the yellow vest organizers that were intermingled into that convoy.
Who, by the way, this week got thrown under the bus. Those guys have broken away, the people from out west. And they're doing a United We Roll to BC, and they're not going to do it using yellow vests at all. They're stepping right away from the Rick and the yellow vest. Now they're inviting yellow vesters but they're not going to endorse the Yellow Vest movement.
Yeah, that's because I'm telling you that I had heard the convoy was, kind of pissed off that the focus got taken away from the pipeline in Alberta. That convoy was really, really meant to bring focus to Alberta and their oil dilemma and building the pipeline. I was told that. I had guys call me and they were angry at Rick Boswick because Rick was making speeches talking about the RIC and talking about immigration, and I'm being told, tell that guy when you see him to shut up, that it's not about that, it's about the pipeline, So they really, and from what I'm told, that's where it originated from. That convoy came from Alberta.
Yeah, but that whole process started out as a Yellow Vest truckers movement, and then it got morphed into something else as more people took over, and they actually took control of it and turned it into a pipeline rally.
Right.
And being the Yellow Vest, well, it's kind of on a sideline kind of thing, so I'm a little disappointed with that. But you look at how many people showed up on the side of the road wearing yellow vests.
The Yellow Vest movement is inspirational because of what's going on in Europe. We know that this could happen here,
And the mainstream media has never once mentioned that it's about the RIC.
Well,
mainstream media has hardly mentioned anything.
And what does that tell you about the chances of getting it passed or approved or recognized by a corrupt government that controls the corrupt media?
We're in for a battle. It's not going to happen easily. Don't kid yourself.
It's an uphill struggle. There's no doubt it's an uphill struggle. But I mean, I don't know if any. Put it this way. This is how I'd say it. If anybody's got any better solutions, I'm all ears.
No, I think the RIC is an important step in the process, but people have to realize that that's what it is it's a step in the process.
That's right.
It's not the be-all and end-all.
No, it opens the door. I'm fully realistic in that aspect, is that I know that it's a door opener. It starts a conversation. It probably could bring many solutions to the table, but it's all it is. It's the door opener.
Yep.
It's the tool.
It's the tool. Yeah, it's the tool. It's the key to unlock the door. And once you got that door open,
but then okay. Now here's my point. Once we get that door open, if we're not ready to deal with what's on the other side of that door, the opportunity that's going to be presented to us on the other side of that door, then we got to start thinking now about what we're going to do once that door is opened. Because we are unlike, as I've said, we are unlike any other country in the world. We, the Canadian people, have the ability to turn our country into exactly what we want. Other countries, the U.S., they can only turn their country into what it was created to be in 1776. The French can only turn their country back into what it was meant to be after Marie Antoinette and the French Revolution, okay? We here in Canada, we don't have anything to turn it back to. We have the opportunity to create it right from scratch.
Well, that's when people would rise to the occasion. I have full confidence that there are...
Go on your other channel, Gary.
Smart
Gary?
people.
No, hang on, Dan. Gary, go on your other channel, okay? Just go on your other channel. Because you're not the smartest man in the world. You don't know every fucking thing about every fucking thing. You don't have all the answers. You might have some, but you don't have all. And if all you're going to do is sit here and badmouth me, then cancel my subscription on Synthesis and go to your other chat room and badmouth me from there. Okay? Because you don't have all the answers, Gary. Rick is not the be-all and end-all solution, no matter what you may think.
I think it'll be a lot better than what we've got now, though.
Well, yes.
No,
I agree. It's the first step. And there's a whole lot of factors or a whole lot of feet involved in that first step, including what the convoy did in awakening and uniting people. That's a big part of what the Rick movement is. But it's only part of the solution.
It's a start. I'll tell you, it's a start.
Yes,
and, you know,
I agree, and that's why I
I'm a
support
realist.
it. But
Yeah,
it has
I
to
agree
be
with you,
supported
though.
in a
It's not
realistic point of view. You can't. We can't be telling people this is going to solve our problems. It's not.
No,
what
it's not
most going to
it's not a
do is
miracle.
exemplify the problems so that people sit back and go, wow, that didn't work because of this. And when they realize why it didn't work, then they'll be able to deal with the problem of why it didn't work.
We have the luxury of looking at what happened in Iceland, where it has worked.
I know,
And it is working.
Ed, again, you're looking at a country that has the legal construct basis of a legitimate government for the people to fall back on. We don't have that here.
Well, I don't think that really matters all that much, because that's when we create it.
Exactly. That's
you
my
know, we
point.
got a better opportunity.
And
They
that's
had to
what I
fall
just
back
said.
on something that they didn't trust.
That's
we get
what
to
I just
create
said, is
something
that we
brand
have,
new, right
we
from
have an
scratch.
unbelievable opportunity here
Yeah.
that no
we get to
other
start
country
something from
has.
scratch. You know, I believe that we could build something even better because we're starting right from scratch.
Exactly.
We would get to create something brand new. And, you know, in this day and age, don't tell me we couldn't come up with some very good solutions and some really good ideas. The only problem with Canada right now, it's not the people in it, and it's not the resources, and it's the damn people running it. That's the problem.
It's the corrupt
that's the
government that's
cancer.
been in power for almost 100 years.
Yeah, they got it. You know, my opinion is they have to all be thrown out and you start from scratch. You got to basically recreate new government, a new electoral process, and start from scratch. And like Ed said, things like that can be done in a few short years. Doesn't need to take 8 years.
It's not going to be easy, though.
Well, no, it's not going to be easy. Hey, you know what? There's going to be a lot of conversation. There'd be a lot of work. And it would be good patriots that you'd have to trust in to actually start implementing some of this stuff. Because, you know, we're starting to know who the who's are. I can tell you right now who I trust and who I don't trust in this movement. There's a lot of people in this movement that have got a lot of viewers and they've got a lot of following, and I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I can tell they're insincere. But I can also point at some very sincere people. I can point at some people that I would trust with, you know, with my life almost, that I've met in this movement, that really care about where Canada's headed and would honestly give life and limb to try to get us to a better future. You know, guys like you, Ed, I see you out there. Guys like you, Duke. Guys like Barry Prince. Guys like Gary Gilbert. We all bring something to the table. Yeah. We got to give credit where it's due.
Where is Duke?
He's hiding
right
now.
here. You guys can't see me.
The Duke that I like.
I see a black spot for Duke. That's what I see. Just a little black square. That's what I've been looking at all night. It's a black square. I can see Ed, but Ed and a black square. That's what I got.
That's because both my cams are tied up with my OBS software. You guys don't get to see me.
Anyway, so I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to go watch Gary's show.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to go over and watch what Gary's got to say.
Please take a look at the Rick. Please vote on this minor petition. our country's future depends on it. It could be a very positive thing. Can't make any promises, though. Good night.
Good night, Ed.
I'm
Thanks
off
for coming
too.
on.
Yeah, thank you, Duke. Take care.
Dan, thanks for coming on, brother.
All right, you too, my friend.
I'll be watching the mail for stuff coming in, and we'll start adding C3 paraphernalia into my DVDs that are going out.
Awesome. Priority post. It should be there like Monday, Tuesday.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, brother. We'll talk to you later.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
All right, they're gone. Well, that was a heated evening on the patio. Tomorrow night should be a little bit more mellow. I have Billy Joyce joining me tomorrow night. Billy's going to dissect his recent United We Roll convoy video that he put out on YouTube earlier this week. Billy's going to join me tomorrow night live on Politically Speaking, and we're going to talk about the convoy, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the convoy, from somebody way out on the East Coast who's probably as distant, and I don't mean that geographically, I mean that in direct connection. He's probably as distant as anybody could be, and yet still be connected. I know that's hard to explain, but Billy was arm's length away from direct contact. His connection was through me to Carl Edward Fleury. And the rest of Billy's information on the convoy came through social media and mainstream media. His video reflects that. He talks about all kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to a very open discussion with Billy Joyce tomorrow night, right here on Politically Speaking. Until then, folks, we're going to call it a night. It's 11:45. We've been 2 hours and 45 minutes on a Friday night. We're going to end things out with my buddy Eric Brazeau's video for Music Fest for Vets. See you, folks. Take care. Catch you back in here tomorrow night.
As the tanks roll out, they always blow my mind. I hear the word from the south to keep an eye on the skies. As the bombs go off, they leave me empty inside. The
Thanks for spending your Friday night with us, folks. Hope you enjoyed the crazy show, because, hey, it's the Patio. No holds barred. Tomorrow night, Billy Joyce, right here on Politically Speaking.
It all goes down in the blink of an eye. Don't hold back until we die. 10,000 miles and we're finally home. Don't hold back until we die. I'm so high I can touch the sky. Don't hold back until we die. 10,000 miles and we're finally home. Don't hold back.
If this video
Individuals can inspire, but it is the
doesn't
millions,
kind
the
of
millions, it is
tighten the
people
muscles
that
in
make
your
change.
throat,
People, we have
if
to
this
make
video
change.
doesn't make your lower lip quiver just a little bit, if it doesn't make your breath catch in your chest just a little bit, then you're a sad, cold-hearted motherfucker and I don't want to know you.
Bet they keep coming. Add one more name from Ontario and carry me home down the highway of heroes. People above with the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love, there was never more. I serve with distinction, no visions of glory. I serve without question, a personal gain. Seek no justification, it's not part of my story, and it offers no comfort to the ones who remain. Just carry me home down the highway of heroes. People above, with the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love, there was never more. I took up my vocation. I was called by my nation without hesitation. My answer